I think it's a great legacy season for 4 guys in particular. Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Bill Belichick, Patrick Mahomes. And this is what's great for the league this year is these are some of the biggest characters in the show that is NFL football. So it's great for the NFL.
Which is the number one television show in America.
Which is the number one television show in America.
92 out of 100. Do you see that stat?
Of the top 100 shows, 92 are NFL games.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good business model.
It is. So I want to run you through sort of these 4. Russell Wilson, fork in the road for him. Patrick Mahomes loses Tyreek. Josh Allen, even Justin Herbert are trying to creep in on his territory. Belichick is trying to make it to the playoffs back-to-back years with Mac Jones in a loaded AFC with like 10 coaches on his coaching staff. And
lost Josh McDaniels.
Lost Josh. And the Packers, who have major changes at the wide receiver group and the back-to-back MVP. I mean, Aaron is replacing Devontae Adams and Valdez-Scantling. Lazard's back. Sammy Watkins. Christian Watkins? Is it Watkins from North Dakota
It's Watkins.
State?
Yeah, I saw they just signed him.
The Watkins. Romeo Doubs. Remember that really productive receiver from Nevada? Like, there's some talk, are the Packers going to add another receiver? Like, who? Okay.
Julio?
So, Julio. I think it's a big year for Aaron. I'm not saying if it doesn't go great, then it tarnishes his legacy. I think it's a big year for Aaron to prove, like, this team refuses to give me what I want. They're going to trade Devontae, use both picks on defensive players. I don't care. Watch me do it again. The Chiefs. I mean, for everything that Patrick Mahomes is, right? And he gets every bit of positive pub. Their playoff loss was brutal. Absolutely brutal. He's in his prime. He's 27 years old. Tyreek's gone. They got Juju and your boy Sky Moore. Their schedule is incredible. The first 8 games they play, Cardinals, Chargers, Colts, Bucks, Rams, Niners, Titans. So I think there's going to be some doubters this year for the Chiefs, and understandably so. And
it's a sneaky tough back-to-back because the Cardinals Sunday, and then they play the first Thursday night game, Amazon Prime, with 17 former players hosting shows before.
Can't wait. Belichick, big flex year for him. AFC, I mean, you think about this in the AFC last year. These are the teams that missed the playoffs. Colts, Dolphins, Chargers, Browns, Ravens, and then even Denver, who won 7 games. All those teams were between 7 for Denver. The rest of them were between 8 and 9 wins. And the Pats made it at 10 and 7.
Well, the Ravens are back, and Denver, if Russell is just solid, should be right there in the mix, right?
Well, and Russell's the other one, man. This to
and
me
the
is
Chargers.
the most interesting fork in the road in the league. 11th year, 33 years old. You'd think just when you look at great quarterback ages and the guys right now like Aaron and Tom, that Russell should have, in theory, another 4 or 5 years of really, really high-level quarterback play. He had so much success early in his career. He wins the Super Bowl the second year, goes back in his 3rd year, and his career was kind of set for him. It's like all-time great, Hall of Famer, nothing more to prove. He's won 1 playoff game in the last 3 years. And honestly, all of last season and into the early postseason, I kept saying, well, not all of last season, like the second half of the year, I'm going to bet on Russell. I think he's going to come back in great shape and have this bounce back year when everyone is counting him out. But I've seen him a couple times. He doesn't look like he's in the greatest shape of his life.
Looked a little better SBs with Ciara with her boobs out. You see that outfit she had on?
I didn't.
Yeah, I just saw it went.
I saw the Kelly Stafford ring.
Yeah,
photo. But he's got this unproven coach, and you know, if it doesn't go well, everything that we just assume Russell Wilson's career is going to look like, it could take a pretty significant turn for the worse. So I think those are 4 like fantastic storylines for this NFL season.
If I rattled through all 4, the one thing I'm with you on Mahomes. The only thing is he has so much life left. Now, when you're that famous,
Totally.
every year is so big, right? When you become Kevin Durant or Steph Curry, for example, every year is magnified. So everything Mahomes does is magnified. But to me, if I had to rank him, he would be last, just because, like, let's say they went 8-9 and had a devastating Chiefs year. Like, when you look back, like, you get one of those in your career. Not ideally, but 9-8, let's say, because
I would say this to your point. He has way more to gain than he has to lose.
Yeah, the other ones, time's ticking a little bit on 2 of them. I mean, Belichick is over 70. his offensive coordinator is potentially going to be a combination of Joe Judge and Matt Patricia. I'm shorting Belichick, not because I don't think he's knows what he's doing. I just think he ran out of bullets. Forever, he always had backup plans, right? From Bill O'Brien, and it was just perfect timing. Josh had gotten fired, and he just recouped him, and they went on the 10-year run. And then even Mac Jones kind of fell in his lap, and I think it's over. You cannot have your two. Matt Patricia, I saw Jeff Schwartz say, hasn't coached offensive line and since he was like an assistant 15 years ago, and that was for 1 year, and he was an offensive, like he played offensive line in college like 30 years ago. Like, you can't just do that. Joe Judge ran through offensive coordinators when he was a head coach because he couldn't coordinate. They're fucked. Like, they're done. I think the fork in the road for Belichick, and I would throw Pete Carroll in this, like, it's over, and sometimes, now I wouldn't compare the two because Belichick is far superior to Pete, even though Pete's a legend. It just shows you how great Bill is. It's like, it's just over for those two guys, I feel, because I don't think Bill can overcome those two guys coaching his offense, even if he kind of takes over the play calling, because eventually you still need guys to coach your offense. Joe Judge is the quarterback coach. The thing I would say about Green Bay, like Coward's big thing is he thinks Minnesota is going to win like 13 games this year. He thinks they're going to dominate. Now, a lot of his takes are always it's just like anti-Aaron Packers. But like they, I think, won 8 or 9 games last year and had historically bad defense. Their defense was terrible. Mike Zimmer and Kirk Cousins hated each other. But whenever you watch the Vikings, you're like, God, they got a lot of good players.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin O'Connell's I don't think he's ever coordinated. He worked for like McVay. Like, he wasn't calling the play. So there's a big unknown. Because the one thing you would say with Cousins, their offense has been awesome. So if their defense is even better, like, I do think that division is somewhat open. But like, that team's still going to be really good. Their defense is going to be awesome. People I know think the guys they drafted in the first round, I know it wasn't a wide receiver, are just going to help their defense be really good. Their running backs are sweet. And I think Aaron, he's just the back-to-back MVP. Like, does anyone expect you to win 3 straight? But like, even more than Mahomes, it feels like non-Tom Brady. Like, if Tom Brady is the most famous guy in the NFL, I think we'd all agree he is. If you just remove him, it feels like Aaron would be number 2, even over Mahomes. Is that fair to say? Just older, been around longer, the Packers quarterback.
It's a great, yeah, I think so. Like,
I think if you just went from
has had some controversy, which helps your awareness levels, right?
Yeah, if you just went to the average 9-year-old football fan, everyone's going to know Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's going to, I would imagine he's like the Steph Curry of little kids. I think if you went from 20-year-old guy to 70-year-old guy, Aaron Rodgers would be number 2. Just name recognition, understanding of his career, starting quarterback for the Packers. He's just a polarizing figure. I think, like Mahomes, he has a lot to gain. Like, does he bounce back and fucking lead them to another 13 wins? You're like, fuck, Devontae, how'd that go for you, buddy? And make one of these random guys all of a sudden, whether it be Sammy Watkins or the Watkins kid, have a sweet year. They run the ball down people's throats. Who also would get credit there would be LaFleur again. And be like, actually, LaFleur's just pretty good. Him and Rodgers.
You know how many games they won last year, John?
13.
You know how many games they won the year before that?
13.
And how about the year before that?
He's won 39 games.
13 the year before that.
I remember there was a stat for a quick second, like LaFleur had almost as many wins in 3 years, like 2.5 years as Kyle had through 5.
Yeah.
Numbers are numbers. No one's.
So I just think, again, not all of this means someone, when I say legacy, can get tarnished. I think it's a major opportunity this year for Aaron, who is just always one of the biggest stories in the league.
To me, it's not as interesting because those teams, like everyone you mentioned, are good. Even the Patriots, like, let's say their bad would be 7-8 wins. Like, they're bad. Their floor is still pretty high because of Bill. I do think the Pete Carroll thing, like, again, they're not going to be interesting if they royally suck, like, to watch. But I just think, like, is Pete Carroll's career over? Because ultimately, let's say the Patriots imploded and won 4 games, and Kraft's like, I've had enough. I just can't do this old man, and we're just going to move on. I fully acknowledge we'll probably never get a good coach. It's just time. How many teams in the league would fucking hire a 71-year-old Belichick immediately? A lot. I don't think the same can be said for, like, if both of them got fired / like I quit and we broke up or whatever, however it went down, Belichick would have a shitload of options. Would Pete have one? I don't know if he would. Because I think a lot of GMs and even a lot of owners, like, his resume recently and the way the Russell Wilson stuff went, like ultimately Bill and Tom, like it was pretty fruitful. You know, it felt like, God, is Russell just carrying Pete's ass for like 5 straight years? Like Bill helped Tom a lot.
I think you just said it. A GM would not hire him, right? Because Pete
Would not hire Pete.
A GM wouldn't do it because Pete would want control. Maybe Carolina, if it goes poorly with Matt Rule, maybe that owner would go, I'm going to, it's worked before with Pete. I'm just going to get a big name, big money guy. And, maybe that would happen. I wouldn't recommend it, but maybe that would be the one place. I don't know.
Yeah. Not crazy given this. Give me a guy to just get the train on the tracks if they have a down year. Like I just tried to swing for the fences. It was a disaster.
Compete every day. Bring that shit.
Get me an NFL guy.
Win the day. Always compete.
Yeah. I mean, think who their GM is, Scott Fitterer, who worked with him forever. Just get us for a couple years, basically
true.
Be like a bridge coach.
GM though. There, right? Is Matt Rule in charge there?
Yeah, I think the owner is.
The owner's in charge. Yeah. But anyway, that actually Fitterer makes probably a better argument for it.
And I you could throw Mike McCarthy in with Pete. Like I think those two guys, given their fame, given their tenure in the NFL, obviously Mike is just, he's coached the Packers and the Cowboys. They're just going to be talked about, I feel like, negatively a lot. Those two coaches, negatively a lot. Mike already was last year. I think Pete really started to get it. Again, slowly got it. I think it's going to come the McCarthy style like last year to Pete. McCarthy's actually got it for a while. But you could argue Pete a little bit like on Twitter, but I just mean like legitimate football people like, is this over?
It's gone from just the analytical community with Pete to just your casual fan is like, what is this? But I think for a lot of people though, where Mike McCarthy is different than Pete is like for your average fan, the Cowboys have been relevant. The Seahawks, when it comes to like the postseason the last 4 years, have not been all that relevant, right?
Yeah, I mean, they did.
They beat the Eagles.
They did host a playoff game 2 years ago, the COVID year, but lost in an empty stadium to Jared Goff.
Their one playoff win was that bad game, that they were both bad, them and Philly.
Yeah, and Carson Wentz, remember, got a concussion like the second play of the game. And what's his name? The high school coach came in. And even he later said, like, I actually had a torn labrum, but I was like, shit, I'll go in.
Yeah. So no, pizza. There's a lot of great ones. I just think those 4 are big. And then, we didn't even get into this stuff. We'll have all, a lot of time to talk about, but Matt Ryan in Indianapolis. I can already see myself, John, week 1 of the preseason, pretending like I'm fired up, like actually forgetting what the preseason's like and getting excited to see, Mike McDaniel's first preseason games against Tampa. Not that Tom's going to be playing, but Sean Payton will be watching that game very closely. So
I would guess all time, and I mean it's already been trending that way of just the preseason being a complete joke in terms of guys playing. And again, it's trended and trended and trended. You would have to think it's only going to keep going that direction, right? Because remember, Bruce Arians made a comment last year. It was like Andy, Bill, Arians. There were like 3 or 4 coaches that played their starters for like a quarter. And the majority of the young coaches, LaFleur, McVay, didn't even fucking travel guys. It was like, what is going on? And Arians made a quote like, well, it looks like me, Andy, and Bill are still doing, maybe,
like what, maybe we know something?
Yeah, like we weren't born yesterday, fellas. Like everyone's acting like we're the idiots. Like what have they done that we haven't done? Interesting.
Yeah.
So I do think that like now Kevin O'Connell, Saleh, like I don't think we're just going to see, you're just not going to see guys play. The preseason sucks.
I wonder if the NFL would benefit from everybody being extremely open, like even in the promotion, in the way they promote the preseason. Here, these guys aren't playing. Here's this other quarterback. Like build up some backup.
They have been better about that, though. I think coaches.
Yeah, well,
McVay's been very open. LaFleur's been very open.
I'm not just saying, our guys aren't playing, but say, hey, here's a guy who you've never heard of, kind of USFL or XFL style. Here's a guy you've never heard of before, but this week is his Super Bowl. Almost treat it like, a USFL or XFL from a promotional standpoint. Like it's this guy's Super Bowl. He's playing 3 quarters of football this Sunday. It's his career on the line. Kind of start promoting the preseason that way, almost like it's minor league games.
But coaches don't talk like that.
No, coaches wouldn't talk like that. But I wonder, you ever seen some of these promos for like these other leagues where it's like, Who's the tall quarterback that the Broncos drafted a few years ago? He was in the USFL. Remember
Osweiler?
No, not Osweiler. Paxton Lynch.
Oh yeah.
Paxton Lynch. And then you like do a graphic of like the 12 different places he's played since Memphis. And it's like, it all comes down to this Sunday, the preseason. Paxton was on the USFL team. I don't know. Maybe he'll get signed as a camp arm.
Yeah, I just think this is going to be the worst preseason yet to date, and it's only going to keep trending that way. So you just basically got to watch the Patriots. I don't even know. Todd Bowles might be a little different in Arians. The Patriots, Andy, Kyle. Remember last year a little bit. Like Kyle's an old soul.
Kyle's What's Mike McDaniel going
to do? That'll be interesting. Like Tyreek ain't playing a snap.
Tyreek, still podcasting. Tyreek's got a podcast that day about the Chiefs.
Like, do you expect to see much in the preseason, just in general?
No.
I know we got to get through the preseason, but I'm just like I used to build up, and then I've just seen the way these guys act. Like, and in fairness to them, they do all these joint practices now, so they get the work. It's not like they're skipping a step. In their mind, we get the work in the joint practices. The Bosa brothers, the Trent Williams, Kittle,
Dolphins, Eagles.
The Niners are at a point.
You know what? To your point, like maybe the hype belongs on the joint practices. Like Dolphins, Eagles will get a lot of attention. Tua and just Philly always gets a ton of attention. That's a joint practice.
That's a pretty good one.
That's a good one. Raiders, Pats, Giants.
I think
Jets.
do you know what's a pretty good one is Niners,
Bengals,
Vikings.
Rams.
Yeah, Niners, Vikings, not bad. Like
good.
Who's I guess Ward and Justin Jefferson? Like can Ward slow him down?
Chargers, Cowboys. How about
joint practice?
Bengals, Rams.
Raiders, Patriots.
See, I've got Browns, Eagles. Are the Eagles doing multiple joint practices?
I would imagine they do. Because again, you do the multiple joint practices, you don't have to do anything in preseason.
Dolphins. So Dolphins do Bucks and must be before that first game, and then they also do the Eagles.
Well, see, you had, and I know you've talked about this before. The NFL kind of does it, but I think they could do a much better job of packaging the programming. Like the preseason games suck. We all acknowledge that. The season ticket holders acknowledge it. The coaches acknowledge it at this point in time, not always with their words, but through their actions. The joint practices do not. Remember some of these, like, these guys are going at it. You see it a lot on Twitter, like, God damn, I wish I was there. Throw that shit on the fucking TV. You know, just like one-on-ones. Joey Bosa and Tyron Smith, boom, at night. And you can just go around the league of just all the joint practice highlights. You're filming it all.
How about Amazon Prime? How about Apple Plus? How about
There's a million ways you can do it.
NFL.com.
My app, my NFL these app. Two teams. Like I can even understand the first couple of days when the pads come on are cool, but like after a while, it's like you have the multiple teams and these matchups. What?
Don't want our schemes out there.
So but it's out there. But once you're practicing against another team, like there's no excuse.
Yeah.
Right.
The film's not out.
But the other team has access to it.
They have the film. Yeah.
So it's basically the entire league has it because they can tell anybody whatever they want. You know.
I assume you do a lot of the same stuff against each other then in the game.
That would be what I would push for. If I just told you tonight at 7:00 on Fox on Wednesday night is an hour worth of highlights from 10 joint practices. Do you think that would get 1 million people to watch? Because I do. You know,
coming up in 10 minutes, Justin Jefferson against the Niners corners.
Well, how about this? Coming up in 10 minutes. Niners, the highlights from the Niners, the best plays from the team of Niners, Vikings, and Chargers, Cowboys.
Every throw Trey Lance made against the Vikings defense.
Fuck. It's not that difficult.
God, we're programming geniuses.
We got you, Raj. I know you made $78 million last year, but.
Oh, sorry. Fire you up. We just got fired up for joint practices. From the practice field, do you put them in the stadium then?
Well, you just don't have enough room. That'd be the one thing. You know, you got 8 million drills going on at once. People everywhere. You need
coming up in 10 minutes. Red zone drills.
Yeah,
right.
What if you just called it the red zone of joint practices? All the highlights. People cut it up. You know, you got it.
Good luck to the Chris Hansen. Like, all right, number 67's out at wideout.
Honestly, you don't even really need. You just need the audio from the practices.
Yeah, you probably don't.
It doesn't even need to be that. Yeah, it doesn't even need to be that big of a production.
It's a great idea.
Jets have Atlanta in practice. We could skip that one.
So what somebody said on the chat?
Yeah, Jets
Oh,
Falcons.
yeah.